Hey guys, XS Master X. It has been a long time since I updated this channel, so I'm making this as a kind of test recording. I already spoiled one of my picks. So this is a tier list I made for every game I've ever played. And when I say what I've ever played, what I mean is like every game that I've ever either beaten or at least played a significant portion of to where I feel comfortable having an opinion on. My criteria is going to be this. F tier games are games which I just did not enjoy. I usually, because I quit out of frustration before. E tier games are basically, that's just going to mean, well, there's only going to be one game in that tier. I'll explain to it when I get to it. D tier games means that games which are perfectly fine games, but just didn't leave that big of an impression on me. Like, it's just kind of like, I barely remember playing them. Like, so not bad. Or games which I do certainly remember playing, but are heavily flawed in some way, which prevents me from putting them higher. T-tier games are games which I liked and I enjoyed playing, but also weren't exactly like hugely impactful to me. It's worth mentioning now that this is not an objective quality list, it is a feelings list. So nothing's going to make any sense, just prepare for the ride. B tier games are games which I legitimately liked and did stick with me in some form. A tier games are my favorites, games which I really liked and look back upon really fondly. S tier games are games which just changed me in some way, either as a person, as a gamer, or both. They are just like really excellent games that I absolutely was thrilled to play, and probably still am. The background music is just some random thing I found, Video Game Study Lounge. I think this is a lot of like remixers like Smooth McGroove and these. So yeah, let's get started. I think I already gave away my first pick here. Sonic the Fighters I'm going to put in the B tier. Now, I don't really play fighting games much. For me, it's like I'm one of those clowns who only plays Smash Bros. Basically. My computer, are you okay? It's giving me a weird reading. Alright. I don't know why the battery symbol's like that. Okay, not getting distracted. So I can't really say how good this would be compared to, like, I don't know, Street Fighter 2. Like, I don't know really how good it is as a fighting game. I just play it basically as like a weird, obscure Sonic game. And as that, it's pretty fun. Like, there's a lot of, like, the sound design in it just has this really nice pop to it. It's really satisfying to pummel your opponents. Some of the characters have really needlessly overpowered abilities. It's something which I can kind of put on with friends every now and then and just have a few fun rounds with. So yeah, B tier. SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. This is a childhood game for me. I had it when I was very young. Got rid of it, but then when I was in high school I actually picked it up again just because I was curious. And it's kind of a interesting game to talk about. So I want to do a let's play of it for this reason. So the game itself is perfectly, I guess it's like a perfectly passable platformer. But the main thing I remember about it is that the game kind of has this like slightly incomplete feeling to it, which I always thought made it feel really airy. Like there's some parts of like how repetitive the music is, the basic graphics. Like whenever you collected all of like the letter tiles in a certain area, it would bring you to this really weird like puzzle piece section which played klezmer music, and then you'd like explore an empty version of the level and find treasure. Like, and then like my favorite part was Goo Lagoon, because when you go there, there's these lifeguards who try to tell you off for running on the beach, and every time they speak, the music just stops, and it just plays their like, "Hey, no running on the beach," and then the music continues again, and it always to me gave me this really like unnerving vibe. Like, I don't know, This is a game which I really want to let's play someday. I really want to share it with everyone. Pokemon Channel is our one E-tier game. So the story with this one is, I did play it and beat it. I played it all the way through and beat it. You know, but the thing is, like, the game is kind of like completely pointless. Like, I mean, I played it as a kid, so it does come with a free Pichu Brothers anime cartoon, which is pretty cool. But like, it's fun to like collect stuff for a little bit, but like, I don't know, like, I don't know if I can really recommend people play it unless you're just like a huge Pokemon fan who must play every obscure title, because like, I don't know, it does have some nice like music in it. It's a very relaxing kind of atmosphere, but it's just not really something I would go out of my way to play much. If I wanted to just relax and do something, I'd probably play Stardew Valley or something. So yeah, that's why it's in the E tier. It's not a bad game or anything, it's just kind of pointless. So I didn't really want to put it higher. Infamous. This game is really good. It was made by Sucker Punch, who, of course, I was a huge fan of because of their work on the Sly Cooper games, which we'll be getting to later on this list. But yeah, I haven't played the sequels yet, but I do have Infamous 2. I really want to get to it pretty soon, because I've 100%ed Infamous 1. It's a really fun game. It has a cool atmosphere and story to it. Like, playing with your different electric powers is just a blast. That's another game which probably should. I mean, most of the games on here I probably could let's play at some point. So I'll try not to go overboard with this comment. Stardew Valley is also going to A tier. I've streamed this one a fair bit with Leaf Green LPs, so you can kind of tell that, yeah, it's a game I enjoy playing quite a bit. I do have this problem where I have to like be in a certain groove with it. I'll go periods of time where I play it like every day, and then I'll go periods of time where I just don't play it at all. It's kind of an in and out thing for me. But yeah, it's a really relaxing game, but it also has like gameplay meat to it. Like, you basically just grow vegetables and talk to people, which sounds like it'd be really boring, but it's not. Like, it's like having friends simulator. Like, there's 12 romanceable characters who are all like actually really good. Well, maybe not all of them, but like there's at least like half of them are like really good, and like I would date in real life if they were real. Alright, let's move on. Gadget Racers, of course, I've done a let's play of this. This is going to go in the B tier, so another childhood game for me, but one which I think is held up decently well, also known as Chorokyu HD1, as that's honestly what I mostly think of it as now. But yeah, it's a very simple game. You buy car parts, you race. You use the money to buy more car parts, rinse and repeat until you beat in everything. But man, it's really fun and addictive. Like, a lot of the levels have really cool designs. Like, the soundtrack is just very nice. I should be playing the soundtrack on that instead of this, maybe. Maybe I will in the next video. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. Now, a lot of people really look down upon this game, and I see why it has a lot of flaws. I'm gonna put it in the C tier though. I think it gets a little overhated. Now, so, like, honestly, I do really enjoy this game, and like I really like what they're going for in the story, at least for like the first like 2/3 of it. Like, it's this pretty fun, simple RPG, and then you get to this really cool section of the game where you go back into like Eggman's old city, and like you have to like split into teams and like, I don't know. But then you get to the outer space part of the game, and that's where it starts to really drag. Like, it becomes very tedious in that final part of the game. They did not stick the landing, and I think that's mostly why a lot of people don't like this game. Also, the soundtrack is like, it was literally just one guy with a MIDI keyboard who had to crank it out in like 2 days, and that kind of shows. Like, considering that, I guess it could have been worse, but man, they really did not give a lot of love and care into this studio. Now a problem that people have with this game, which I don't agree with, is most people seem to think that like the touchscreen controls are absolutely unusable. I've never had a problem with the touchscreen. Like the special attacks, I really never had a problem executing them. Like, I don't see that complaint, but so I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing. Bowser's Inside Story is gonna go into B tier. I've actually never beaten it. I dig myself into a hole in this game. I got to the final boss, and I could not beat the final boss no matter how hard I tried. I would try it several times a day for like 2 weeks. Every day when I was riding the bus home from school, I'll try and fight the boss. I just couldn't get past it. And it's apparently you need to go and like get some of like Mario and Luigi's special attacks from some area, and I just never did that. So I just couldn't beat it. So I had to restart, but I have not gotten through it again yet. So yeah, really good game, lots of fun, constantly. I especially like the Bowser sections, but Mario and Luigi are also really fun to play as, and there's a lot of cool puzzles. Like the giant Bowser's parts are just like epic. Really good game. Honestly, I could probably put it in A tier. Maybe it will eventually get up there once I actually properly beat it. Shadow the Hedgehog is going into F tier. This game just angers me. I actually was like, okay, I know it's a flawed game and all, but I'm gonna try and or at least beat it and like get to the final story. This was just like a year or two ago, and I rage quit because some of the levels in this game are just ass. I guess I'm not supposed to swear on this channel, but they're not very good. They're like, it's really hard, but not in the rewarding way. It's hard in a frustrating, cheap way. When you get this, like, and it's not all the levels. Like, for the most part, I think the levels on like the neutral route, which most players will probably do first because it's the easiest, those are pretty solid. But some of the, well, like I think those Cosmic Fall was one which just was like, holy crap, I do not like this. And like there's the arc levels are just really long and annoying to get through. A lot of like the hero and dark missions, which are like collect like 50 things in this level, those take forever. Like it's just not a fun game. Like I don't hate it because Shadow has a gun, because like, you know, maybe it could have been like if it were a fun game, I think I would have bought that premise. It's just not a fun game. Super Smash Bros. Melee! B tier. This is obviously like a competitive masterpiece. Very like, I definitely have a fair amount of memories playing with friends and on my own, trying to do like the events and stuff. A lot of the Smash Bros. Games I won't have too much to say about it. I think Melee is probably like, other than maybe Ultimate, is like considered objectively the best Smash game. It's not my favorite. We'll get to my favorite one later. But yeah, very fun game. Every now and then, like a while back, Imp Lemon, if you know that YouTuber, he made this video about a professional Melee player, and it kind of inspired me to pick it up again for like a month or so and try playing Jigglypuff. Because this is the only time Jigglypuff was ever even remotely good, for some reason. Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Now, quick forewarning, before I place this, I only played the DS version. So I'm not talking about the Wii version, which I never got around to beating, so it's not on here. I never played the 360 or PS3 version or anything. I only played the DS version. So yeah, it's going into D tier, because I just basically grinded the game and like beat it in like 3 days, and I have not really looked back at it since. I was like, alright, that was cool. But I really haven't thought about it since. So yeah, pretty much just straight into the D tier. Among Us! Here, I need to create a new, hold on. Oh, I didn't mean, hold on. That should stay blue. But this tier is gonna be purple. Alright, next we have, is that Ruby and Sapphire or Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire? Oh, no, that's Ruby and Sapphire. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be a dirty little nostalgia simp and put in the S tier. So, my first Pokemon game, which means Pokemon is like my #1 hyperfixation over the course of my entire life. So obviously I think it does count as life-changing. But also, like, I do think they're really good games. Like, I still go back and play through them, like, quite a lot. It's a bit of a... Like, it's like, anytime I get upset, it's like, alright, let's start a new save file in Pokemon Emerald, let's go. Or Fire Red and Leaf Green, which I'll get to later. Now, I do also realize this is the nostalgia talking. Like, I know that if you played this today, like, comparing it more objectively to other Pokemon games, it does have its faults. Like, people complain about, oh, there's too much water. That's kind of the main complaint. And I agree with that, and also disagree at the same time. There is too much water, but you can skip most of it, which makes it makes it a much easier pill to swallow than it normally would be. But yeah, whenever I'm going through this, like, and doing, like a full run where I battle every trainer, those water parts do get pretty tedious. They did what they could to try and spice them up by adding in diving and Shoal Cave and, like, the currents and abandoned ship, like, making the surf speed a lot faster than in previous games and in subsequent games too. They did what they could to try and make it more bearable, and that's what stops it from being like a deal breaker for me. But even with all their efforts, the water levels do get a bit tedious. Like, there's only some number of times you can select Thunderbolt before it gets old. Sonic Riders, I'm sure that this is a pretty good game objectively, but when I played it, it just pissed me off for some reason. It was another one where I rage quit into it. Now, a lot of people like this game, and a lot of people consider it better than Zero Gravity, which, spoiler, is going to be higher on this list. So, I'm sure if I, like, gave it another chance, maybe I'd like it. But as far as the experience I've had with it so far, it was just me getting really frustrated with it. Maybe it's because I did play Zero Gravity first, so I was used to those controls. So, I don't know. Call of Duty Black Ops. This is really more or less kind of the stand-in for all the time I spent playing any Call of Duty multiplayer with friends back when I was in middle school and high school, because I played it quite a lot with my friend who used to be on this channel, Drake. Black Ops was the one we played the most, which is why I picked it, and it was also my favorite. So yeah, this is going into A tier just because even though I'm not like necessarily like a big time COD player, I just have so many great memories of playing this with my friends that's the primary association. Now, I do have my own copy of Black Ops now, but it doesn't work, unfortunately. Pokemon Red, and it's specifically Red because that's the only Gen 1 game I actually played all the way through. Speaking of which, is Gold and Silver on here? I think I forgot to put Gold, Silver, Crystal on here. Oops. Yeah. So, I'll just talk about them all at once then. I'm gonna put this in the B tier. Obviously, spoiler alert, there's gonna be no Pokemon game that goes below B tier. Except for Channel. Because, who cares about Channel? Because, you know, it's Pokemon. Like, I'm super obsessed with it. I just love it. But the Gen 1 especially is kind of the most difficult one for me to play. Because, as I said, I started with Ruby and Sapphire, which means going back to Gen 1 and a lot of the kind of more archaic game design. Like, it was quite a feat that they managed to pull it off as well as they did at the time. But that doesn't make it more enjoyable going back to it. I still like to play it just for nostalgic and as kind of like, because it does have its charm. Gen 1 has a lot of like different mechanics than other games when it comes to like critical hit ratios and such, in the type chart. So you kind of have to play it with like a new set of goggles compared to any other Pokemon game. But yeah, things like not being allowed to switch PT boxes on the fly is quite annoying, which is why I prefer to play like Fire Red and Leaf Green over the originals. The same thing, that particular point also applies to Gold, Silver, Crystal, which also would be in the B tier if I remember to put them in. I think I like Gold and Silver more. They're much more polished games. They basically completely overhauled it and created the system that's kind of been built upon since in Gold and Silver. I love the Johto region. I love the music in it. Although Gold and Silver does have the problem of being too easy, in my opinion. Yeah, the too easy complaint didn't just start with like X and Y. It's Gold and Silver also kind of has this, like, the Elite Four is like not even like in the level 50s in level. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It probably is at the end, but like, it's very easy to just kind of steamroll most of this game because they decided to try and make it like less linear by giving you different options like they did in Gen 1, which is probably the best thing about Gen 1, is that you can kind of do it in whatever order you want. But they left all the levels kind of low throughout both of those sections, so it just ends up being kind of a wash. The Legend of Zelda Breath in the Wild is going in the S tier. Now you may be surprised to hear this. But this was the first Zelda game I actually played all the way through. I played a bit of Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass back in the day, but I just never beat them. Pausing for real quick. Alright, so Breath of the Wild. For actually surprisingly the first Zelda game I ever played all the way through. And man, as you can tell, I liked it quite a lot. Immersion is big with me for games, so having this very huge open world, that looks beautiful to explore, was huge. It was just so fun to run around, like usually riding around on my horse, and just see all the different sights, just collect all the different types of like fruits and insects and stuff, and occasionally maybe do the main quest. But of course, this game also, I don't think I'm gonna get too personal in this video. It's a story for another day. But this game was very big in helping me discover a very important part of myself. So yeah, maybe someday I'll tell that story, but right now I'm being too chicken. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is an objective quality level the worst Smash game, but it is also my favorite. So it was the first one I played, and this game is responsible for getting me into like a lot of other kind of Nintendo stuff, or at least letting me be familiarized with it. As I'm sure many people could tell you, when they first pick up their first Smash game, they were first kind of like, oh, who is this Fire Emblem? Who are these Fire Emblem characters? Who are these F-Zero and Pikmin characters? Like, it kind of broadens your horizons as far as like Nintendo IPs a lot. And then for Ultimate specifically, it might have broadened people's horizons for non-Nintendo IPs like Castlevania or Bayonetta too. Yeah, the soundtrack is amazing. I just have so many awesome memories playing this game so much. I'm surprised my disc still works. Subspace Emissary I think is a lot of fun. I think that's kind of mixed opinions on that, but I've always enjoyed it. It's kind of a cool way of getting my Smash fix. While also having more of like a progression to it. Also, for the record, in Brawl, I mained as Pikachu and Fox primarily. So also, I would later kind of pick up Falco, Sheik, and Sonic. And in Melee, I also main Pikachu. I tend to just want to main Pikachu in every game, but also have like a second and third character. In Melee, I tried to do Jigglypuff and Samus. So yeah, So yeah, Brawl, big game for me. Chorokyu HD4, the never-ending Let's Play on this channel. I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Now if that surprises you, it's mainly because I really can't disconnect my feelings on the game from the Let's Play I did because it was my first playthrough of the game, and also especially because it lasted so long. Whenever I think of the game, I mostly just think of the hardship, but also all the friends I made along the way, and trying to get that LP out. As a game objectively, I'm not sure how I would have felt about it if I played it just on my own. Like, probably the biggest criticism I have of the game is that it can be very cryptic. It's always difficult to tell like what you're supposed to do next, both along certain quests, which like I don't know, if you watch my Let's Play, you saw me repeatedly get confused about that, so you could just say I'm just a bad gamer and maybe it's not the game's fault. So maybe it is, I don't know, I'll accept that honestly. Civ 5 is going into A tier. It's an extremely addictive game, so much that I actually like literally got addicted to it when I was in college at some point. I had to take a month break from it, and I actually went into withdrawal from not playing Civ 5 enough. So yeah, I've gotten my mental illness around it under check, but I do still play it. If you check on my Steam, I have like over 800 or maybe even 900 now hours plugged into it. So yeah, very fun game. A little glimpse into what it's like to lead a nation. Although a lot of political metaphors don't really work for it though, because you just kind of get money from having things that exist. You don't have to. Anyway, let's move on. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is my favorite Sonic game, and it's going into A tier. And you can't tell me I'm wrong. Like, the game is also very fun to play. I've never actually gotten around to fully 100%ing it. I've tried a few times, but it's hard for me to commit to 100%ing games, personally. I mean, a lot of times it's hard for me to even commit to beating them. But a lot of this game's charm does come in with the Chao Garden. It's just an insanely, like, deep system. Like, anytime I, like, watch a video or something about Chao, like I watched this really cool video by Cybersmith about the Chao system, it just activates like this part of my brain that's like a sleeper cell that makes me like, I must go play Sonic Adventure 2 and make a Chao Garden and raise a bunch of Chao and have them do races and breed them and like everything. It's like, it's just something which is insanely easy to just completely get addicted to. Alright. Also, Shadow's cool. Hot Wheels World Race. Much like Chorokyu HD4, I did a blind Let's Play of it on my channel, and that's mainly what I think of when I think of the game. Although, that said, I do think it's a pretty solid game objectively. Like, I'd probably put it higher if I were to actually rank these. Maybe not higher than Sonic Chronicles. Nah, maybe it does. I don't know. But yeah, I did have quite a bit of fun playing it. Although the way I tried to record it was stupid, in that I would just keep recording until 15 minutes were up, even if I hadn't actually won anything. So yeah, I probably should have just played this on my own. but it is a pretty enjoyable game. So I tend to have Pokemon games like all grouped within like the generation they're in. So Colosseum was like, my feelings to it are pretty well tied to like Ruby and Sapphire. I'm gonna put it in the A tier, not though. I actually just recently started playing through it again, funnily enough. But yeah, it is a very unique Pokemon game. You only get like 50 choices for your team, You have to catch every Pokemon during a trainer battle, except for like a couple like your Startles and Plusle. You really have to like use your head when playing this game, as far as because not all of the teams are in it, and you can't trade with any of the Game Boy games until you actually beat the game. So there's no like trading in like teams from other games or teams or items or anything. You have to really use your head and plan it out when you play this game using the very limited resources you have. It's probably the hardest like main series Pokemon game, and most people probably wouldn't consider it main series, but I kind of put it in that category because it's the only spin-off where the gameplay matches the main series really well, as far as exploration and battling and everything. So yeah, it's probably the hardest of all of those, and I really appreciate it for that. Like, even today, with all the time I've spent playing Pokemon and obsessing in it and memorizing everything about it, I still struggle with the final boss of this game, and with the final boss of Mount Battle, whenever I go back and play this. And it's the only Pokemon game, other than its sequel, which we'll talk about later, which still kind of gives me a run for my money just playing a casual playthrough, not even like a Nuzlocke or a challenge run or anything. Halo Reach here, I'm gonna put it in probably it could go in A tier or B tier. I think I'm gonna put it in A, just because it's basically the same case as with Call of Duty, where I played a few other Halo games. I played some of 3, but Reach is the one I played the most, except unlike Call of Duty, I did actually play the campaign in that too. But yeah, I had so much fun playing this with friends, just like with Call of Duty. The Forge mode in Reach in particular is like very fun to mess around with. Like any kind of level editor will just kind of get me hook, line, and sinker. Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Like I said, I kind of grouped generations together. It's right on the cusp of being A, but I'm gonna put it in B. Along with we'll talk about Platinum and Diamond and Pearl later. But yeah, it is largely considered to be one of the best Pokemon games, and I totally see why. It has a great soundtrack. It's the only game other than Yellow, and I guess Let's Go Now, which has the Pokemon walking behind you mechanic. It is definitely the best remake, like as a remake, as far as Pokemon goes. Like, people consider ORAS maybe a little disappointing. Fire Red and Leaf Green kind of the same thing. As far as some of the decisions they made were a little questionable. But Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they nailed it. It is a perfect remake, as far as I'm concerned. It also carries over a few of the flaws the original game had, mainly being kind of easy. But I'm still really have mostly just positive things to say about this. Alright, Hot Wheels Velocity X. Of course, this is a very important game to me, because it's the first one I ever played. It's what got me into gaming as a whole. Now I'm gonna put it in a C tier. Like, it probably could be in B tier, just based on my memories of it. And I do think it is a perfectly respectable, like, racing game, or vehicle combat game too, I guess. So, lots of fond memories of it, but I have to at least put this nostalgia down a little bit, and not put this in, like, A tier or something. Because, yeah, while it is a perfectly good game, I think, it is also not, like... If it weren't for the nostalgia, I probably kind of just think it was okay. Like, maybe, like, probably in the same vein as World Race here. The Incredibles for Game Boy Advance is gonna go into D tier. This game... First of all, it's a really oddly specific licensed game to be on here, I realize. But I've played it quite a lot as a kid, but the problem is, like, there's quite a lot of variance in the different gameplay styles. So there's the Mr. Incredible levels, which are kind of the meat of the game, and they are, I think, the best levels. And then there's the Elastigirl levels, which are kind of frustrating because of the perspective of the game. It's really hard to tell like what enemies on your plane and like when you're supposed to grab them, and it's like. And I remember the Elastigirl levels going on for a really long time, especially when you get to the part of the movie where they're on the island and she's infiltrating. Like a pretty fun scene in the movie, but in the game, oh boy, it takes a long time to get through. The Violet levels are probably even worse. Like, she barely has any like way of attacking. The Dash levels are pretty fun, but there's only like 2 of them. I think the people who made this game might have been misogynist because they made the male characters have like fun gameplay and the female characters not. Sly Cooper Seeds in Time. It's gonna go in the C tier. I had to wait a long time to play this game, and was it worth it? Kinda. It's still a legitimately fun game. A solid entry into the franchise gameplay-wise, and has some really fun levels designs. Sly Cooper is always really good about having creative kind of levels. The problem with it is that the story sucks. Like, when you compare it to Slice 2 and 3, like, they kind of just, they kind of dumbed down the characters into being like comedic archetypes, like, and it's like, and it's also just kind of nonsensical. The Sly games are never like really logically sound, but Thieves in Time is just kind of egregious about that. It's just kind of completely random where the story goes. But yeah, so as a game, it's pretty good, but yeah, there's definitely a reason why a lot of Sly Cooper fans look down upon it. Mario Kart Wii. There's going to be a lot of Mario Kart games on here. Wii's going to go into C tier. It's because I never played it that much, like, so I don't have as positive feelings on it as the other Mario Kart games. The motion controls never really worked out too well for me in this. Like, I don't know, I could just stop being a masochist and use the GameCube controller, but then I might as well just be playing Double Dash. Which, spoiler alert, is going to go higher than this. So, a lot of people have great memories of playing Mario Kart Wii. I just personally never played it that much. I preferred playing the other games. Such as Mario Kart 8. Which I have a special kind of history with because I bought this the day it was released, and the day it was released, I had to do a big physics lab after school, and so I got to go to GameStop and pick this up as kind of my reward for doing all that. So, beautiful graphics in this game. I'll tell my story about Mario Kart 7 when I get there, but I also have a lot of good memories of 8. I've played it a lot with friends and family. Speaking of Mario Kart, Double Dash is also going to go in the B tier. This one I played quite a bit more, and also played it with friends more. Like, I don't know, my friend group just preferred Double Dash over Wii for one reason or another, nostalgia, or it also is just a really solid Mario Kart entry. Not too much to say about it. XD is going to go in the A tier. A lot of what I said about Colosseum applies. It's a very unique Pokemon game. It's much longer and meatier than Colosseum. It's also not quite as hard, but it's still definitely a much more serious challenge than you'll get from most Pokemon games. The final boss is ridiculous in that he gets 7 Pokemon, which all have overpowered moves, which are super effective against every type, and 4 of them are legendaries. Like, I just love telling people about that. Because, like, man, they really did not do any balancing with this final. They really went all out with this final boss. Like, you're just gonna get your butt kicked unless you use the special trick I found, which is when you catch Shadow Lugia intentionally lose and then bring Shadow Lugia back to the fight, and it just stonewalls everything and you have ample time to catch everything. Metroid Prime is like almost in the S tier. It's in the A tier because it's a really good game. Just very atmospheric, very solidly built. Like, I have this particular memory of it of I got obsessed with it during a time in my life in which was really hard. So I guess I'm a bit biased towards it too. Minecraft is going to be tier, but Minecraft is like Stardew Valley, where I just kind of go on and off of it. But I've been playing it for a lot longer, since like probably for the better part of a decade now. I used to have a server I ran with friends. Like, sometimes I play it alone, sometimes I play it on friends or on servers. The problem with Minecraft, which is and why it's not an A tier, is that I find that I get like bored with it after like a couple weeks. Like, I'm just like, alright, I built my house, I built a little city, I found another and like mined some stuff, what do I do now? Like, because there's not much of a clear objective, I find myself kind of like getting bored with it after a while. Which is the problem that Stardew Valley doesn't have, because Stardew Valley has more of a clear objective. Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island. I always remember this as the game where I've got it, and I played it, and it was pretty fun, but I beat the whole game in one day. Like, it's not too much meat to the game. Now, like I said, it was pretty fun, nothing wrong with it, but it's just like, I can't really put it above D tier, because it's like, not anything too special. Tamagotchi Life is in B tier. Is this Persona 5 music? We're gonna get to Persona 5 in a little bit, funnily enough. But Tamagotchi Life is a pretty fun, like, relaxing game, which I like to pick up sometimes. For a while, I would use it as like my sleep aid, or because it's kind of relaxing, I would just play it and it put me to sleep. So it's another one of those games where I'll pick up every now and then, on and off. I don't know, just a cool game. Like, I have a soft spot for it. And unlike other life sim games like Animal Crossing, like, you're not really like pressured to keep playing it. That was the reason why I could never get into Animal Crossing. It's like, if you're gone for like 2 weeks, they'll come back and like all your plants died and like your house has cockroaches and everyone's like, oh my gosh, what happened to you? Whereas like, it just felt like too much pressure to play it every day. Tamagotchi Life, like, your people will make comments like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, but it's not too bad. Persona 4 Golden. Man, this is a long list. I wish I had not committed myself to making this long a video. Persona 4 Golden is a game which I recently finished up because it got released on Steam. I'm putting it in A tier. Very solid story for the most part. Only a couple of kind of cracks in it. I definitely got very attached to like the little town and like all the characters. Very memorable game, I think. I just recently played it, so maybe it's too presumptive to call it memorable, but it's Persona. It's really fun. Using Personas is fun. The problem I have with it is that I feel like it's a bit too... I played it on, like, I don't remember what difficulty I played it on, but I thought it was a bit too easy. So I should probably go back and play it on hard at some point. Try and, I guess, get more enjoyment out of that aspect of it. Because I feel like you could just, like, breeze through most of the boss fights after Shadow Teddy. Shadow Teddy was legitimately really hard, but everything after that is kind of like, alright, this is no problem. Persona 5 is also going to go into A tier, which I probably like it a little bit better than 4, but it also has its weaknesses. Persona 5, first of all, what everyone says, it has like the best UI of every game, any game I've ever seen. It is absolutely beautiful. Gameplay-wise, also very fun. made a few improvements over 4's gameplay. I like that they brought back the light and dark attacks that weren't just one-hit KOs. Fusing personas is like just very addictive for me. The dungeon design is usually pretty great. There's a couple of stinkers in there, but most of them are really fun and memorable. The social sim aspect's really fun. It has overall stronger social links than 4. Some of 4's were kind of basic. The most contentious aspect of Persona 5 to discuss is its actual story. Its story has very high highs and very low lows. The writing is very inconsistent. And something which I think 4 does better than 5 is really establishing a team dynamic. Everyone really feels like friends. You have fun kind of hangout sessions where they go to the park or they make a band together. It really makes you connect to the characters more and really see them as like a unit. 5 doesn't do this nearly as well. They feel more like they're like professionals just working together. I don't get as many fun moments. Though there are some here and there, but it doesn't have as strong a team vibe. That's one of the things which makes 4 does better in my eyes. But obviously 5 was still like kind of a life-changing game for me, despite its having some severe flaws. Like the other flaw the story has is that the villains are very hit and miss, and depending on what type of person you are, it might be mostly misses. Personally, I am not as picky as some people are, so I was able to get a lot of enjoyment out of the angst, the teen angst of the game. But if you're not into that, you probably won't like it. So yeah, just a fair warning. Pikmin 3, really don't have too much to say about it. It's a really solid, fun game. I really like the kind of 3 captains and how it incorporates the gamepad. Like, I think this game probably incorporates the gamepad better than like any other Wii U game I've ever played. Like, it's the only one where it feels like this had to be on the Wii U. Even though I think there's a Switch version of it now, so I don't know how they do that, but yeah. Pikmin 1 is going to go in the B tier, because while it's also a pretty fun game, like, I also feel like it's maybe a bit lacking in meat compared to Pikmin's 2 and 3. But yeah, obviously great kind of starts the franchise. I actually played this game because Checker Conroy Let's Played it, and I decided to go get it and play it myself. So thanks, Checker Conroy. You got me into Let's Playing as a whole, and you also got me into Pikmin. As well as probably other things indirectly. Pokemon Black and White 2 might be, like... So I absolutely love Gen 5. Gen 5 I think is my favorite generation. Like, I don't know, maybe this should be an S tier. But not really. So, Gen 3 is in here because of nostalgia. I think Gen 5 is like the best ones. But I don't have, like... I don't know. Okay, I'm turning myself around here. Maybe, should this be an S or not? The music in it's really good. It has really great aesthetics. You know, that goes a long way for me if I can get immersed in the world of the game. Has one of the better, like, actual rosters of new Pokemon that was added. Some of my all-time favorites, like, I'm a huge fan of Galvantula. I'm a huge fan of Ferrothorn. There's lots of really cool Pokemon they add into that. Electros is cool. I'm kind of talking about Gen 5 as a whole. Black 2 and White 2 has a really cool story. Well, both games do. Now, Black 2 and White 2 kind of suffers from maybe being a bit sparse in the pacing department. But also, the whole using Kyurem as a super weapon thing is just a really cool concept. I don't know. Like... I think I do like 2 better than 1, because 1 I feel like it has the problem which the later Pokemon games like Sun and Moon have, where occasionally the story will just kind of be filler, whereas 2 doesn't have that problem as much, but it also means that the story is a bit on the lighter side. Oh, we're going to talk about a few more Pokemon games in a row. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I'm going to put it in the B tier. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I kind of in the same vein as, it's actually kind of in the same part of my life of Metroid Prime, where I got really obsessed with it because I was really stressed out with school. I actually went in 100%ed it, or not really 100%, but I completed like the regional decks, which I usually don't bother to do, believe it or not. I basically played it obsessively over a spring break instead of doing my homework. That was fun. Also a very poor decision. Sun and Moon's also going to go in the B tier, but pretty high there. I think Sun and Moon gets too much hate. Now, like I said, it does have the problem where a lot of the story in it is just filler. But once you get to the actual kind of story, I think it's pretty solid. But that just doesn't really kick in until like Po Town. I really love like the tropical island aesthetics of this. Like, it came out during like a particular very important time of my life where I was going to see Haley for the first time, and we played this a lot together, so I'm very biased in favor of it. So yeah, I'm very attached to these games, but I also realize their flaws and why some people don't like them, although I think the criticisms are also a bit overblown. Fire and Leaf Green is going up here with Ruby and Sapphire because, like I said, I view the generations as kind of a collective. And basically, Ruby and Sapphire and Fire and Leaf Green kind of run together for me in particular. Now, Fire and Leaf Green has basically the strengths of Gen 1 without kind of some of the archaic parts of it. What I really like about the Kanto region, that basically no other region really does, is that it just gives you totally free reign to explore. Once you beat Misty, you can basically do the gyms in like almost any order. And it's really cool. I've always loved that about it. You can just plan your own route. It's the game that most feels like an adventure that's not just dragging you along like the other Pokemon games tend to do, especially later on. Platinum is also like Heart Gold and Soul Sword, really close to being an A. Like, definitely have very fond memories of this. Platinum in particular I played a ton. I'm saying Platinum instead of Diamond and Pearl because Diamond and Pearl are clearly inferior. This is the only like third version where like you have to play the third version, in my opinion. Yeah, really interesting story. I really liked the Distortion World part that got added into the end of Platinum. I need to use the bathroom, so I'll be right back and I'll continue and I'll finish this tier list up then. Alright, next game is Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Spoiler alert, this is my favorite game. This game just kind of has it all for me. It has a really like cool, like unique paper art style, cool puzzles. The RPG system is like, it's very simple, but I feel like that kind of works to its benefit because it's like, it just makes it very easy to keep track of like the badge system that they have, which is really fun to like kind of try out different combinations. Just the world is just so, it feels so full despite being ironically being paper. I would sometimes daydream about like waking up in the Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door world when I was in high school. Yeah, I don't know what else to say to this. The story, while kind of definitely pretty cheesy, it does definitely have its charm. I don't know, that's like, this one I am trying to 100%, and I should get back to that soon, actually. Ratchet Deadlocked, and no, I haven't actually played any of the Ratchet and Clank games yet, although I'm about to beat the first one, because I have the HD collection. I'm going to try and play through that. This is going to sit in a C tier, because it was a pretty fun shooting game, but not too much to say about it. Pokemon X and Y is in the B tier. For me, most of the fun I had with X and Y was playing with friends after because I would beat the game. There's not really much of a post game, unfortunately. But it's the game where it's the easiest to IV breed and EV train stuff. Like, I have my old collaborator, the 12th Kind. One time we had an English class together, and he was like, "Hey, can you EV train this Pokemon for me?" And I was like, "Sure." And then he handed me his DS, or he traded it over. I don't remember which one. And then in that class period in English, within that hour, I had fully EV trained the thing, and I handed it back to him. I was like, "Here you go, it's done." Like, the Horde battles just made that so easy. So I had a lot of fun, like, with the competitive side of this generation. The game itself is kind of like probably the weakest of them, in my opinion, of the Pokemon games. Like, the plot is cool, but it happens entirely just within, like, the 7th and 8th gym. So it has the problem that Sun and Moon has, except at least, I guess at least less of your time, at least. I don't know. Like, also the game was very easy. It's probably, like, the easiest game, maybe, like, more so than Gold and Silver were. I don't know. Omega Roof and Alpha Sapphire also kind of had this, so. Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. I had quite a. This is another game where, I got it on release date, like with Mario Kart 8. I played it a crap ton with friends. We had a football game that day, and it was mostly just them playing it because they just took my 3DS and they played it, and I was like, I want to play more. I played the demo of it a crap ton before it even came out because I was so hyped. But it's going to go in the C tier because once the Wii U version came out, I basically never went back to this one. We'll get to the Wii U version later. Mario Kart DS. So here's my story about this one. I didn't play it a ton as a kid, but I inherited it from my sibling who did play it a ton and actually got really into it. But when my sophomore year of high school, I was in a Spanish 2 class. The teacher was very kind of lax and did not give a crap about what we did in class. So me and these 2 other kids would play this game in that class, specifically battle mode, like just constantly. So I have cool memories of doing that. Every now and then we'd stop to do a worksheet or something. They would always just copy off of whatever I did, so I was kind of a pushover in high school. New Super Mario Bros. Fun game, but not too much to say about it, so it's going in C tier. Very well kind of put together, solid game. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of the Sky will go in the A tier, because this also has a really good story, actually. Like, surprisingly good for a Pokemon game. Like, I don't know, and just a lot of the characters are very memorable. It's a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. I feel like this one hit the sweet spot as far as difficulty goes, because Mystery Dungeon 1 is kind of too hard for me, whereas the later ones were too easy. Much too easy. The game has a certain, despite being very kind of, I guess, kid-friendly, it has a very much a darkness to it in the plot department. There's also a lot of cool kind of, I like that there's a shiny Celebi in it. I don't know, like, I've always had a soft spot for shiny Celebi, because it's like, Celebi is this kind of unattainable, extremely rare Pokemon, and having a shiny one is like especially so. Yeah, I could probably go on about that for a while, but let's move on. Super Mario 3D World is going to go in the A tier. Now, may seem like a weird game to get into the A tier, but because it came out around the time where Nintendo was just spamming these basically nostalgia Mario games, which was like the new Super Mario Bros. Series and 3D Land, and then this comes out. And so people kind of got sick of like the kind of bare bones Mario style, which is just like, oh, it's just another Mario game. where it's just kind of a clean platformer that appeals to nostalgia. Ooh. So a lot of people don't think too highly of it, but personally, I didn't play most of those other games. Like New Super Mario Bros. I actually played after this, at least partially. I like played it as a kid some, but I didn't actually come around and beat it until after I played New 3D World. So for me, this is a perfectly fine, like, just really refreshing game. Like, it just has a very pleasing kind of gameplay to it. Like, it's just very fun. Like, it doesn't really have any bells or whistles, it's just fun. That's all a game needs. And the music is also very good. If you didn't notice, most of these, like, top games have really good music because I'm a music guy. I'll always mention that. Like, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team, I'm gonna put in the B tier. I have a lot of nostalgia for this one. It would definitely go high in the B tier, like probably close to where the Gen 4 is. Also a very memorable and surprisingly dark plot, not quite as complex as Explorers of Times was, but having to go on the run from like the town that you've been living in the whole game is just like, they really went there. Wow. And like it has a very deep post game, which I never really fully completed because it gets really freaking hard and just frustrating, honestly, at times with this game. Yeah, at some point I should go back and like actually try and do everything in it. Sly 3 on. We're getting to the Sly games. Here we go. Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves is gonna go in the A tier. Another game where I have just tons of memories, just playing it all the time. I would just this is the most fun game to just pop open and just like play casually. Just wander around the hub worlds or play the missions. I could just do it like for hours. The story is pretty good, not quite as strong as 2. But yeah, the gameplay is probably the most actually solid of any of the Sly games. Except, not everyone likes the constant gameplay shifts, and yeah, there are some misses in the minigames. But as far as the core Sly gameplay, it's the best it's ever been in the franchise, I think. But Sly 2 is going higher, it's in the S tier. Sly 2 is a much more focused game than Sly 3, which I think does work in its benefit. It does have some kind of mini-games and other gameplay styles, but enough to where you can kind of get used to. But it's few enough to where you can kind of get used to them. Clearly has the best. It has like the best story in a Sly game. Like, it is also, like what I said about the Mystery Dungeon games, weirdly, like, surprisingly dark. There's just so many twists and turns. And it really doesn't even end on an entirely happy note. Like, I don't know, and just the levels and the villains and like are very cool and memorable. Like, this is another game I've actually recently been going through again. So yeah, great game. Sonic R is going into D tier. Like with many of the other D tier games, it was a pretty fun game. I actually did 100% it just because it really does not take much to 100%. I had a weekend where I just sat down and was like, oh, I'll play Sonic R for some reason. I don't know why. I think it probably was like a backloggery, like, random game. That's probably why. But yeah, fun game. Pretty cool soundtrack. But nothing too special about it. Sonic Lost World is going into D tier. There's a lot of people on the internet who have very strong thoughts about this game. Gameplay is fine. Not the best Sonic game by a stretch. But gameplay is perfectly fine. It's not like a Sonic 06 where it just crashed and burned and it's unplayable, but that said, there's also not too much of note about it. Like, Sonic has as far as the story goes, it's, I could kind of see what they're going for, but it just did not come together. Like, this probably has the most hated story out of any Sonic game, weirdly enough. Because, like, there's just kind of little bits and pieces of, like, this would have been a really interesting plot, but it just doesn't come together. So yeah, that's Sonic Lost World. SpongeBob SquarePants Lights Camera Pants. The best of the SpongeBob games I've ever played, that's for sure. It goes in the B tier. It's just it's a lot of fun. Like, I tried to do a Let's Play of this once actually, but I abandoned it early on because it was during the time where, oh hey, Minecraft music, cool. Because it was during the time where I was doing way too much on my channel, so had to drop that. But this is a really cool game. Like, honestly, if you're like a SpongeBob fan, I would really recommend you play this one. People always talk up Battle for Bikini Bottom, which I haven't played. Maybe I'll get to it someday. But this is another SpongeBob game which I think absolutely deserves to be praised. It's Star Fox 64 3D, or also the original, because I played both of them. Pretty good game. Not too much to say about it. Like, it's just a fun game to play. Like, cool space shooter. Like, I don't know. I don't really have any comments about it. What I will say is that Star Fox Assault is not on here because I have a very unfortunate experience where the first time I ever tried to play the game, basically, like, there is, like, bad things happening in my life at the time. So anytime I think of the game, I just think about that. So it makes me not want to play it. So that's kind of sad. Assault seems like a pretty fun game, but just never... Star Force Battlefront 2 is in the A tier. Like, this is another game, along with Sly 3, along with Brawl, Civ 5 now, I guess, where I just played the crap out of it. It is just so much fun. Like, just go into instant action mode and play a few rounds. Like, and I do mean the Pandemic one, not the EA one. I never played the EA one. Mario Sunshine's in the B tier. Again, like most of these kind of Mario games, I don't really have much to say about it. I enjoyed it. Cool, like, kind of feel to it. Some of the missions could be a little frustrating, but mostly it's fine. Smash Bros. Ultimate, B tier. Probably the most, I guess, uncontroversial Smash game, at least right now, and that both Melee fans and casual fans seem to both agree it's pretty good. Since I've been saying my mains, I main Palutena. I recently tried out Pyra and Misra on my friend's game who had the DLC. They were so much fun to play as, so I might try and pick them up as mains too. I also need to get the DLC first though, so that's the problem. Once I get money, I'll probably get the DLC. Yeah, probably mechanically, like, very good game. World of Light, I find a little bit to be tedious, so not really the Subspace successor I was hoping for. But that's fine, because playing it with friends, playing it on my own with CPUs is totally valid Smash gameplay. My main experience with this is playing it with friends in high school. I didn't have the game yet, so I didn't get to practice much, but I went over to their place quite a lot to play it. And in early 2020, before the pandemic, I went on a jazz band trip. I might have talked about this in a road trip episode or something, I think. And there was a huge layover in an airport. We were stuck there for like 12 hours, and I borrowed someone's Switch and played the crap out of Smash Ultimate. So yeah. Sly 1's gonna go into B tier. I like Sly 1 a lot. I don't have quite as much of an attachment to it as 2 and 3. I just prefer the heist, like, job style of gameplay. This is more of a traditional 3D platformer, and it's a very good one. But, it's a very fun to, like, do the speedruns and, like, 100% the game. The World Ends With You is also going into S tier. I think it's going to be the last S tier game. Holy crap. I don't even know where to begin with this game. Like, it's just... the art style is so good. The story is very gripping. Occasionally a little melodramatic. What gets me in this game is the themes in this game just really resonated with me when I play it. Like, there's a theme of, like, you can't close yourself off from the world. You have to go and influence it and, like, experience other viewpoints and talk to people. And, like, the main character, Neku, goes on such a huge transformation over the game. It's honestly inspiring to watch. The game has a lot of music references. The soundtrack is poggers. Like, the gameplay itself might be the thing I have. Like, it has quite a learning curve to it. So this is definitely not going to be a game for everyone. It's a game where it is very fun to master, but it can be hard to pick up. So, like, even myself, I haven't really mastered it yet. So it's a game I need to go back to and kind of dig into deeper, because I just adore it so much. Undertale. It's gonna go in the A tier. But this is a game where it's kind of hard for me to talk about succinctly, because let's just say it's very there's a lot of mixed opinions about it on the internet, because it got really overhyped and kind of had like a really toxic fan base. So because of that, like, some people there's like a strong backlash against it, and a lot of people hate on it now. They're like, oh, it's not that good. And yeah, it was overhyped, but I still think it's a really good game. Very memorable. Like, it has just these really cool atmospheric boss fights. Really memorable characters. Really, really witty and funny writing. The game itself, gameplay-wise, is very simple. It's just kind of a bullet hell, but like, so it's honestly weird to say, but like, the gameplay itself is one of the weaker elements of Undertale. It's mostly about kind of the experience of, like, experiencing the plot, finding all the little secrets in the game, because the game is very well, like, connected. Everything's connected to each other. It's just fun to go and, like, do different playthroughs and see, like, different kind of little moments. Sonic Unleashed C tier. Very fun Sonic game. Just not one that I quite got into as much as the others, but, you know, everyone says the daytime stages are fun. The nighttime stages, they're good, but they tend to be too long, in my opinion. But everyone thinks that. Wii Sports, had fun playing with family some. I mean, it's Wii Sports. Smash Wii U, I mean Peach, Pikachu, and Samus. Like I said earlier, I had a ton of fun playing this with friends, because this came out while I was in high school. Smash Tour sucks. I never played that. Mechanically, it's not quite as good as Ultimate, but still an improvement over Brawl. Because despite Brawl being the one I have the most nostalgia for, it has the worst, like, kind of battle mechanics. Sonic Adventure DX is an A tier game. I'm currently Let's Playing it. I need to go back and finish that. Wow, it's been a while. But yeah, like what I said about Sonic Adventure 2, this game has a really special atmosphere to it. One of the better Sonic stories, which isn't saying much, but still. I really love just, like, the feeling of Station Square and the Mystic Ruins and the Egg Carrier. The music is, like, really good. I actually own the soundtrack for this. It has one of my favorite soundtracks in gaming, honestly. Like, it'd be interesting if I did a tier list like this, except with the music. I don't know. That'd probably be like, I'd just probably put everything in A tier, because I'm a little music simp. Pokemon XD, I kind of already talked about. Wait. Pokemon XD's not here twice. Oops, okay. I already basically talked about Black and White when I talked about Black and White 2. I love how they went with actually tried to go with something kind of really ambitious with this generation. Both with the story and with a lot of the mechanics. And it's like, maybe my favorite Pokemon character in, like, any game. Like, I love him. Like, Please Marry Me. Sonic Adventure... Sonic Rider Zero Gravity, C tier. Pretty fun game. I don't know. Most people prefer the first game, but as you can tell, I like Zero Gravity better. I did play the PlayStation 2 version, not the Wii version. I don't know if that makes a difference. I don't know if the Wii version is good, but I played the PS2 version. It was fun to play the game and go through the missions and stuff, but after I was done with it, I was basically done with it. I didn't really go back to it much. It has a really cool aesthetic though. Also, you should go watch the video Real-Time Fan Dubs of Sonic Riders and Sonic Riders Zero Gravity by Snapcube. It's hilarious. Same thing with Sonic Adventure 2. They also made one of Sonic Adventure 2, which is like... You've probably already seen it, because it's kind of an internet legend at this point, but it's really good. Alright, that's all my games. Let's see, did I miss anything? Let me check my backlog rate. Let's see here. Let me see if there's any games that I was supposed to put on here, because I missed Pokemon Gold and Silver. I don't know if there's any others I missed. Let's see. Yeah, okay, got that. I didn't really count Deltarune, because that's a demo. Deltarune was cool. A little minimalistic, too minimalistic in some areas, but I like the improvements to the battle system. Let's see here. Okay, I think that's everything then. Let me just check the completed games too. Yep. Alright, there you go. Thank you guys for tuning in to my little tier list here. Let me also check the null games. Yeah, okay, I think I got everything. Alright. Yeah, hopefully I'll actually get back into YouTubing soon. Thanks for watching.